Moving on, conservative activist and Turning Point USA co-founder Charlie Kirk was shot and killed on Wednesday afternoon while speaking at Utah Valley University. He was only 31. The fatal shooting occurred during Kirk's American Comeback Tour event. A single shot rang out, striking Kirk in the neck. He collapsed on stage as students screamed and fled. Law enforcement officials say the suspected shooter may have fired from a rooftop. Surveillance footage shows a figure in dark clothing, but no arrests have been made. The FBI has launched a tip line and is working with local authorities to track down the killer. Kirk leaves behind his wife Erica and 2 young children. His organization, Turning Point USA, has asked for prayers and privacy for the family.
Taking guns is the beginning of the end of the rest of your freedoms.
Having children is more important than having a good career. Well, I think that we should put Americans above foreigners. There's a revival happening in this country right now, Lawrence, and praise God.
Combative, clever, energetic, and just barely in his 30s, Charlie Kirk was a major link to younger voters for the political right. Praised by President Donald Trump as a key to retaking the White House.
Charlie is fantastic. I mean, this guy, don't believe this stuff when you hear the kids are liberal. They're not liberal. Maybe they used to be, but they're not anymore.
Growing up in a Chicago suburb, Kirk took to conservative ideas early, criticizing what he called liberal bias in education, minority hiring practices, and more, co-founding the right-wing political group Turning Point USA, and hitting the airwaves while still just a teenager.
A lot of kids are feeling the effects of what we like to call, with the Washington economy, with a lot of debt, plummeting small business, with higher regulation and high taxes.
When he did not get into West Point, Kirk dropped out of college and turned to political activism with a fury.
Universities are not about the pursuit of knowledge. They're about the forceful pushing of a left-wing worldview. White privilege is a racist myth that is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If a woman is going to have an abortion, is it 50% the man's decision?
His outspoken ways drew a huge following and fierce opposition.
You spread hate, you spread lies, we see Nazis in disguise.
How do you feel about being called a fascist? What's your opinion on that?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent me from speaking?
Through it all, the married father of 2 engaged with not just political friends, but also foes, forever spreading a gospel of more.
In order to create more conservatives and more people who love the country, you need to have the 3 M's. Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage. The 3 M's are 3 things the Democrat Party is against.
Now, none other than President Donald Trump himself confirmed Kirk's death, even as speculation was rife after the assassination, calling him a legendary patriot and ordering flags nationwide to be flown at half-staff until Sunday.
Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. Radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
Let's go across to our guest. Joining us, Ashok Sajjanar is former Indian diplomat, and Sushant Sareen, senior fellow ORF, is also with us. Sushant, the spotlight on radical left, far left, as Donald Trump himself described, too many opinions on social media as well in America about how this is a fight for America itself. Whatever is transpiring in America almost has a lesson for everybody else as well, including for us here in India, about political violence and who's more bigoted or who's more insecure, intolerant, the left or the right?
Shivani, it's quite clear to me that the leftists are far more intolerant, and in fact, liberal extremism is an oxymoron, but I think it kind of sums up what kind of people we are dealing with. The fact of the matter remains that, this entire cancel culture, that I know what is right, anybody else, if I don't agree with your views, I'll cancel you, I'll dox you. And this is not just the far left. This is even the so-called middle of the road people, university professors. You ask kids who go to Western universities now, there was a time there used to be a spirited debate. There was a very vigorous kind of intellectual effervescence in these universities. People could argue various positions and not be doxed for it. Today, if you are going to toe a line with which your professor does not agree, you're not going to pass the paper, or you'll get a C. And it's happened to many, many kids I know of. So you have created a climate of intolerance in universities. You have created a climate of intolerance in the public square where you simply cannot have a debate. See, Shivani, I might not agree with Ambassador Sajjanar. I might not agree with you. We'll debate and we'll still remain friends. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? But I don't think people on the left end of the spectrum even are willing to engage in a debate
with anybody on the right or those who they disagree with. Actually, that's what's even more telling as far as this assassination is concerned, Ashok Sajjanar, is actually the fact that Charlie Kirk was not one of those individuals who used to name call or, who was very rabid in his views. Maybe some people may feel so, but he was known for the fact that he would go to university campuses and actually engage with debate with students and others on issues that they didn't see eye to eye on. The fact that he's the one who's being assassinated just goes on to show how disrupted the American system has become. And it's a warning for everybody.
No, absolutely. You're very right, Shivani. First of all, thank you for inviting me. Yes, you're very right. I think it's also a symbol of the deep polarization and the deep fissures that have come into the United States at this moment. And, meaning we are talking about the United States where it is extremely pronounced. But I think in many other societies also the polarization is huge. But I totally agree with you. As far as Charlie Kirk is concerned, he was willing to debate. He was holding on to his own views. But then he was not trying to impose those views on others. He was willing to debate. He was willing to hear the other people out and willing to respond. So I think in that sense, having a dialogue, having a debate, to be able to, you might at the end of it agree to disagree, because that is the way that you do, you go about it. But here, silencing that voice, and we've seen in the United States, because this happened in the US, but it's happened in other places also. But the rise of wokeism, the political violence, the political assassination, for instance, I was reading seeing a figure, more than 300 political assassinations have taken place over the last 3 odd years in the United States. Now, that is huge, meaning even as far as Trump himself as a candidate, he was shot twice. And, one, he was, just 2 inches or centimeters away from the bullet getting onto his, to his head. And the other, of course, he was saved by the federal agents.
Yeah. You know, the fact that all of this is happening in America, what does it say, Sushant Sareen? Because, you know, this was the beacon of liberal democracy, land of the free, the brave. Today, you know, America, whether it's race issues, social issues, crime issues, the whole gun issue, for example, in America has been such a sore. And now it has come to the point where people are just picking up a gun and killing whoever they don't agree with. Nobody should have to die for an opinion, for heaven's sake.
See, Shivani, it's not just in America. Look at Britain. Britain is a classical fascist society today. You express an opinion which the state does not agree with, they'll put you in jail, right? This never used to happen in Britain. In India, in the past, if you expressed an opinion which the established leftist, centrist order did not agree with, you were doxxed. So this has been a problem. It's there in Europe. It's re-emerged in a major way because that order, that so-called liberal order, which is very illiberal as it turns out, is being challenged. But in the US, it becomes even worse because you have a lot of hate. You have a lot of polarization, political and social polarization. And on top of that, you have the deadly cocktail in which you mix in guns, where everybody is carrying a gun. Nobody is willing to listen to anybody else. And if you don't like somebody's views, you, as you very correctly said, you pull out a gun and you shoot him dead. That's the end of the argument. This was not supposed to be like this. It's not just in the United States, anywhere in the world.
Yes.
From liberal order. But that liberal order is actually a very illiberal order. Just look at Britain. It is shocking what Britain has turned out under not just the Labour Party, which is of course leftist and completely loony, but you look at the Conservatives. They were doing the same thing. I don't have to agree with the English Defence League or, you know, the right-wing characters. I don't have to agree with everything they say, but they have a point of view. The moment you express that point of view, the moment you say, I do not want migrants in a particular region for a variety of reasons, you can be doxxed, you can lose your job.
You can be called a Nazi. It's very easy to just call everyone a Nazi.
Name calling is the easiest thing to do. But the thing is that the state cracks down, puts you in jail. There are people who have been jailed for expressing a view. How easy is that?
Okay.
Is that what the liberal order is all about? And then these guys, when they point a finger to us and tell us that there is a democracy deficit in India, it makes me want to laugh at their face.
Yes.
What kind of people are they?
No, one of the reasons why we're shining a spotlight on what's happening in America is because, yes, as I said, it was supposed to be the beacon of democracy and a model for everybody, everyone else in the world, but that's surely not what is transpiring. But I will say, Sushant, before I move on to the other big story we're tracking from the US, is that they say that the liberal order is liberal as long as it is not being challenged by anyone.
Exactly.
Your cornerstone of, you know, how liberal you are can only be attested when, you know, you are being challenged and how accepting you are of that challenge. But now that there is a very, very vocal right that has emerged because of social media and otherwise because of the, you know, medium available apart from conservative or, you know, more legacy media, today there is a fight. When there is no fight, it's very easy to be liberal and to espouse liberal values. But stay with me, gentlemen. While Charlie Kirk's killing has sent shockwaves across the globe, it's not the only case making headlines in USA. A shocking act of violence aboard a Charlotte light rail train has sparked a nationwide debate between security protocols, mental health oversight, and safety of America's transit systems. On August 22, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, Irina Zarutska, who fled her war-torn homeland seeking peace, was fatally stabbed in an unprovoked attack while riding the Lynx Blue Line in Charlotte, North Carolina. Zarutska was working at a local pizzeria and attending community college. She dreamed of becoming a veterinary assistant one day. Back in Kiev, Zarutska had earned a degree in art and restoration from a college and was known for her passionate and vibrant artwork, but her dreams have been cut short. Now, Elon Musk has pledged $1 million to fund murals across the United States in memory of Irina Zarutska. AI-generated images of these murals in honor of the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee are making rounds on social media as anger over the brutal killing continues to rage on. More and more CEOs are coming forward in support of the initiative. Co-founder of Intercom and creator of Fin AI, has offered $500,000 to fund murals across major US cities. This is just to show how opinion is changing and how sentiment on the ground is becoming very, very clear. But here's what transpired on the fateful evening. On the night of August 22, Zarutska was riding the train home from a job at a pizzeria in Charlotte when she was stabbed to death. The accused, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., a homeless man with long-standing criminal history, was sitting behind her when he attacked her with a knife without any provocation of any kind. CCTV footage of Zarutska's final moments in the train shows accused pulled out a pocket knife, stabbed her in the neck without any interaction or provocation. She was stabbed thrice in the neck before she succumbed to the injuries. Her assailant was arrested upon exiting the train and charged with first-degree murder. But people are also commenting about how nobody else in that train came out to help her. Why is this case leading to widespread condemnation of Democrat and liberal-led policies over crime? Is because this wasn't the only crime that accused DeCarlos Brown Jr. had been charged for. He was first arrested on juvenile charges in 2007, and 3 years later he was nabbed once again for felony larceny, a serious theft offence. In 2013, he was convicted of armed robbery and threats and was sentenced to 6-year prison term in 2015. From 2021 to 2022, multiple cases of domestic violence were reported against him, including an assault on his own sister. In January this year, DeCarlos Brown Jr. was arrested for misusing emergency services. Many believe this could have been the point that he should have faced more sterner action, permanent action, something that could have prevented the killing of the 23-year-old Ukrainian. The accused is now under medical observation for competency evaluation, a move that should have taken place following his calls to emergency services, claiming there were materials in his head. What are these materials that the accused is referring to? Recalling the incident, the accused told his sister that he hurt his hand while stabbing the victim and that he had never spoken a word to her, but somehow she was reading his mind. He further said, why would someone stab someone for no reason, in a tone that he was surprised that someone else made him do it. He added that the materials in his head had lashed out at the victim. Attention has turned on the judge who let this career criminal out and agencies who have been batting for lax rules and reducing populations in jails, even if it involves hardened and repeat offenders. Congressman Tim Moore, who's representing North Carolina's 14th congressional district, has called for the removal of Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes, who released this 14-time offender. He says this tragedy was preventable. There must be accountability. North Carolinians deserve better.
For too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, and now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are.
Calling the crime disgraceful and unforgivable, FBI Director Kash Patel has assured that central agency is working to ensure justice is served. He also stated that the perpetrator would never be allowed to walk free again. Patel thanked Attorney General Pam Bondi for delivering federal charges against the suspect and added, "We will seek the maximum penalty for this unforgivable crime and he will never again see the light of the day as a free man." But here is another American commentator who has linked the killings of Kirk and Zarutska, mentioning the attempt of assassination on then presidential nominee Trump himself. He has, like many other commentators and the administration itself in US, blamed the far left for the violence, calling the media complicit as well. Just a snapshot of the sentiment that is prevailing in America. With that, I want to go back across to our guests who continue to be with us. Sushant Sareen, look at this crime. Armless girl on a ride back home from her job is brutally knifed in her neck without any provocation. And this is a career criminal who's been let loose repeatedly. Apparently, the judge who gave him release did not even have a law degree or did not even pass a bar exam. People are calling it a DEI hire. You know, this is worse than a third world country.
Yeah, it is. And frankly, if you look at some of the inner cities in the United States, it doesn't really look like it's the most powerful country in the world, in any manner. And the fact of the matter remains that the criminal justice system in the United States has completely collapsed. We've seen scenes from various cities. And let me tell you something, Shivani, this is not an unusual case in the sense that somebody with a long rap sheet has been put back on the streets. This is something which had become the new normal in the United States, where actually judges with democratic leanings were actually releasing these kinds of criminals and putting them back on the street. There are hundreds, if not thousands of cases like this. And quite clearly, this is madness. On the face of it is madness, but there is a justification that some of these characters give. On a variety of reasons that, there was accentuating circumstances, there were other problems with people. But even if a guy is, for example, mentally ill, why isn't he in a mental asylum?
Exactly.
Why is he roaming the streets? So, it makes you look askance at the American system and the kind of mindlessness which seems to have guided
some of their policies when it comes to crime and justice. It's almost suicidal to suggest that hardened career criminals should be let back. It's the life of the innocent that has to be prioritized over the welfare of even, criminals who may have charges in the past or have served sentences. Yes, reform is possible, but you cannot prioritize their safety or well-being over those of innocents. There is a racial angle as far as this attack is concerned, and that is also dividing America today like never before, because allegedly this man has been heard saying, "I got that white girl," because initially there was an attempt, because of the nature of the criminal and the victim, to suggest that too much is being made out of this crime. Mainstream media is being alleged to have not covered it till it became a big deal on social media. But Ashok Sajjanar, my question to you is this, you look at the dangers in society that some of these policies that are being promoted by these countries, organizations across the world are making dangerous turn they're giving to the life of ordinary citizens. And this is a warning yet again for everybody.
No, absolutely. You're very right, Shivani. This is a warning and this is a risk and there's a threat and danger for everybody. I think what this case truly brings out is that this person was a serial offender. It's not the first time crime that he's doing. It's not the second time. He's been involved in it, as you have, absolutely articulated that for several times. So he's a serial offender. Obviously, the judge who was, whether it's the last one or even the previous ones, there has been no application of might as far as releasing this person is concerned. And, when you are going from, let's say, person is accused of such heinous crimes, obviously the state has to also appeal if there is, the person is going to be let loose. But here it seems to be the person, as you said, the judge, as you said, he was not qualified. So, if he's not qualified enough to adjudicate on this issue, and he can mention all sorts of attenuating circumstances that, we have to take care of this, we have to take care of something else, the information is not available, etc. I think there has to be something else, a body above that, who also has to look at the evidence on the basis of which this decision has been taken.
No,
And
so one is the
obviously,
mindlessness of some of the policies that have been pushed more recently in the last decade or so, and the dangers that other democracies may have if those are replicated, for example, in India. The other point here also is that America, for all of its great values and history, is a very deeply divided society. And for Americans to lecture anybody else, as is happening on social media against Indians, for example, is not sitting very well. They have too much to set right in their own home before lecturing anyone else about what democracy and freedom is. But I'll leave it at that. I do thank both of our guests for joining us. That's a wrap on Plain Speak today. The Right Stand with Anand Narasimhan is coming up next.